So, as promised, tonight I'm going to be talking about beginner's mind, what it is, and the benefits of how it can enliven our practices. What brought me to thinking about beginner's mind is several things. The pandemic, for one. you know, I think it was last Saturday. I went to go turn on the evening news, and I realized, oh, I can't. It's Saturday. It's not on. Um, the news that I like to watch wasn't on Saturday, and I'm like, wow, another Saturday. Since the pandemic started, I almost never watched any of the news, but since it started, suddenly I'm watching this news every uh, evening that I could remember or that I was available. And I'm like, wow, how many Saturdays has it been? And I had this experience of Groundhog Day. Do you know anybody know what I'm talking about? Like how these Saturdays just keep piling up, more and more Saturdays, and this pandemic is still going on. The never ending pandemic. Anyhow, so then I was like, wow, it feels, what's going on here? And I realized that I started exploring my mind and noticing that my mind is looking to watch the news in order to see, to get some information of when this is going to be over so that I'll know when I can go back to what used to be my life before, as if I could ever recreate what I had before. And I saw the delusional thinking about this because I realized, well, things will never go back to the way we were before because those days are over. This is a new day. This is a new fresh moment each day. And then I remembered that I'd like to practice beginner's mind. And I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't been practicing beginner's mind much lately. I practice a lot of mindfulness, being present with whatever's arising. But the beginner's mind is practicing mindfulness uh, with fresh eyes, as though you've never experienced this moment before. This moment is fresh, it's new. This throbbing sensation in my neck is different than any throbbing I've ever felt in my neck before. This particular sensation, this visual seeing me or hearing my voice is totally different than it's ever been before, you know. Um, so practicing seeing everything fresh, new. And when we do that, I don't know if you notice in the meditation, when you start practicing seeing everything new, there's a spaciousness that opens up, right? Um, so when you learn about the mind, I've heard a lot of different things about the mind that the mind has these automatic processes to where if you do something often enough, the same thing, eventually it'll create an automatic neural pathway pattern to where you don't have to think about figuring out how to do something again. The mind will just automatically go through that process. That's why you can put your pants on without thinking about how do I put my pants on? Which leg do I need to go in first? Or you can drive somewhere and think, who drove me here? Because the mind goes on that automatic pattern. It starts to play that automatic pattern. Well, when we do that, when we go in the automatic pattern, was good for survival because during that time when we're not having to think about how to drive or think about how to brush our teeth or whatever, the mind can be occupied with something more important, like how to get food, how to get shelter, how to survive, right? Well, now we're living fairly, that those of us who are privileged like me and are lucky enough to have a home and um, money. Not everyone does, but those of us who are don't have to worry about how we're going to get our money or how we're going to pay our bills each moment, right? So, does the mind do? It goes on these automatic, obsessive type looping thinking where you fall into this trance of worrying or planning just really inane things, you know. You might think, what's the most inane thing you thought about today? And how much time did you spend thinking about it? Right? Or sometimes you might just wake up and go, what have I been doing the past 30 minutes? I don't even know. Right? Um, so none of this is a problem, except that it would be kind of like saying, I can't wait to go to the beach and experience hearing the seagulls and feeling the sea air and feeling walking my feet in the water, and then going back to your beach house and realizing, you know what, I don't remember ever being on the beach today, even though you were there for 2 hours. Right? How much of our life do we spend obsessing, thinking, worrying? Right? We're not present then. And then when we finally do come present, we're not fully present because I look over, oh yeah, my tree. Yeah, that's my tree. And then I'm not looking at it, right? I'm not seeing it with fresh new eyes when I'm not practicing beginner's mind. I can kind of just ignore the tree. Oh, yeah, the tree looks good today. And then beyond obsessing and worrying and planning and right? I go to my parents, some of you have been there. They live on the top of a mountain, and then they have pasture land around their house, and then there are trees, forests beyond that, and then there are mountains beyond that, and it's one of the most breathtaking views I've ever seen. And they have 360 degrees around their house is are remarkable views. So every time I go over there, I sit on their back deck or next to their pool, and I just stare at the beauty of the landscape quietly. And what I noticed is that every snippet, every snapshot that I see is totally different than any snapshot I've ever seen before. I can look over here and be like, snapshot, whoa, and then look over here, snapshot, and then come back here and it's a brand new snapshot. Even though I saw it before, it seems brand new. And it seems even more beautiful than the last time I saw it. Right. And then my parents who don't practice beginner's mind will come and sit next to me, and they'll be talking about, we need to do this and got to do that and got to do it. Oh, did so and so call yet? And wait a minute, do you have to call? And then I'm just sitting there, in awe of the beauty, no matter what time of year it is. And then every so often they look at me and say, what are you doing? And I said, just taking it all in. And they say, what? And I said, it's so beautiful here. And they look up and they say, yeah, 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 it's beautiful. It is, isn't it? So what are they doing? They're doing what humans are wired to do, which is to project what we think we know, our preconceptions, onto this moment. So when they look at the mountain, they're not really seeing the mountain. They're seeing their stored memory, their perception of the mountain. And they're like, oh yeah, nice picture, right? And that's what most of us are doing almost all the time. We are projecting our preconception based on our previous experiences, and we're overlaying it onto this moment. We're not seeing the person or the mountain for how it is this second, this moment. And as we know, things are constantly changing. We're constantly changing. Our visual field is constantly changing. Our mind is constantly changing. The landscape is constantly changing. The people before us are constantly changing. There is no moment just like this moment right now. It'll never be repeated, and it'll never happen. It's just gone. So each fresh new moment, it arises, it's born, it manifests, it changes, and then it's gone. to be born to the next new moment, right? So this sounds really good. Like, oh yeah, seeing everything fresh and new. But then when we're in relationship with our significant others, if you have one, partnership or animals, or other friends, it's easy to let this automatic process of assuming that we know what they're going to say next, and then when they say it, then we're like, "Yeah, they're so predictable," yeah. And then we stop being fresh and new with them because we keep seeing the repeated patterns over and over again, and we just kind of look at them like, "Yep, here we go again." Kind of like the Saturday, Groundhog Day, you know? "Oh, it's Saturday again. Oh, yeah, you again." How how exciting and fresh and exhilarating is that, right? Not so. And what if you're in a relationship with with someone when you're choosing to see them brand new again as if you've never known them before? What if you had a relationship with someone when you're choosing not to hold on to any judgments that you've made of them? I have a friend. She's another Buddhist teacher that I've met and made. Never met her in person, but we've Zoomed and we talk on the phone a few times a week. And we, throw a lot of Buddhist concepts and what did you talk about to your Sangha and what am I going to talk about? Or, we have a lot of fun with talking about our issues or patterns that are coming up and just try to support each other. So it's a really amazing and supportive friendship with someone else who's choosing to be awake and alive. And what I noticed is that I could not stand her voice. And I got it in my head that, oh my God, I hate her voice. She's nasally and she kind of has a kind of timbre to it. And every time and she's loud too. So every time she spoke, bah, 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 I would hear bah, 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 and I was really like, my nervous system was feeling like it was getting attacked. And and then I was dreading the next time I was going to talk to her. I'm like, this is someone I really love and appreciate, right? What's going on? Oh, I have a preconceived judgment about not liking her voice, right? Sure, we're going to have preferences. But as soon as I saw that, I was able to say, why don't I just be fresh and new with her as if I've never heard her voice before and let go of this belief that I don't like her voice, right? And then we went back to we I went back to really enjoying our conversations again without being uh, preoccupied with my dislike of her voice. Um, so when we're not able to see someone fresh and new as they are, as they're showing up each moment, we concretize them and we create some solid perception, a statue. So then we're in relationship with our idea of the statue of who this person. We're not in a live, dynamic relationship with them if we're doing this. All of our projections and overlays. So I would just suggest that you practice beginner's mind with your relationships because no experience is the same. No drive home from the grocery store is the same. It's going to be different each time. You're going to pass by different cars, different people. So, yeah, look at your narratives, see which ones are stopping you from experiencing things fresh and new. Um, that's one way to practice doing this. Um, the you may have heard Zen mind, beginner's mind, Shunri Suzuki. He says, in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are none, right? So we do this too with what we think we know. Oh yeah, I know all about how clouds form. I don't want to hear this. Yeah, I know the Four Noble Truths. Oh God, do I have to hear this again? Or whatever it is that we think we know. We're constantly, once again, we're overlaying that onto our experience, and we're not able to be fresh and new with it. Because when I choose to be fresh and new with anything, when I relax and say, okay, Miss, I know this. Let me, can you sit over here, Miss, I know this, and just relax and open to receiving whatever's here to receive. And when I can do that, then I almost always have a new insight into something that I knew before on a deeper level, right? Or I hear a nuanced perspective, like, oh, I never thought of looking at it from that angle or that perspective. Um, yeah, so this is a beautiful thing for me to be able to do because I practice with you guys every time that I see you. Like, I get to practice seeing you and falling in love with you all over again every time I see you. Right? Anew. And that's what we get to do in every sunrise, every sunset, every sound we hear, every sensation we feel. And then we'll be able to see when we're catastrophizing or getting lost in unusual, delusional type of thoughts. Another thing that really helps is having a curiosity, right? If I see everything fresh and new, I'm going to be like, what's happening now? Oh, wow. You know, every moment is brand new. It's kind of like being with a little child. I just played with my grandson the other day, and I go to play with him. He's 5, going on 6. And boy, do I get to enjoy beginner's mind with him. We make up games and scenarios, and every time I see him, we're doing something totally different. And he's just like so excited, and I am too, because we're creating something new every time we get together. Fun, creative uh, thing. So, uh, yeah. And another thing that can really help you is to, when you think that you know something or you've heard it before and you start to check out, seeing if you can hear a lot of different perspectives on the same old thing. Becoming curious about, well, that's this person's perspective. What's that one? And what's that one? And what's that one? Can we get curious about the person we don't agree with? But what actually, what do they? Where are they coming from? That'll help us become less rigid about our own what we think we know, right? We can also see how things are being colored. People are pretty interesting when we start really listening with fresh ears, how people are using language specifically to sway people to their their perspectives. And I'm sure to some people it's a conscious thing, to others it's unconscious. But when we fully show up, hearing everything fresh and new, we start to see some of these things. Right? Oh, okay. There seems to be someone that really wants me to see things a certain way here. Yeah. Um, Thich Nhat Hanh wrote about putting ourselves in other people's shoes, trying to hold a lot of different perspectives. You may have, I've quoted him before, and you may have heard this in one of his poems. Please call me by my true names. where he's saying, I'm the 12-year-old girl refugee on a small boat who throws herself into the ocean after being raped by a sea pirate. Then he says, I'm also the pirate, my heart not yet capable of seeing and loving another human being. Um, so that's pretty much what we can start doing with beginner's mind. If I know someone who, if I have a concretized belief, someone who does whatever I could never accept or never, uh, then I'm missing out on a level of compassion that I could have for another human being who is really suffering. Yeah. Treating each moment like it's your first, treating each moment like it's your last, treating each moment like it's new and will never happen again. These are all beginner's mind. Um, Smelling something for the first time, that's amazing. I think it was, who was I telling the other day? I like to get these containers of blueberries and I eat each blueberry separately. And I find it amazing because even if I eat 100 blueberries, not one blueberry tastes like any other blueberry. Have you noticed that? Each blueberry tastes completely different. And you'll notice this with other fruits and other, now, I don't notice it as much with other vegetables, but I definitely notice it with fruits. Every apple is a little different. Every pomegranate, I love pomegranates, is different. Some are spicier and more peppery, and some are sweeter and juicier. It's amazing. Um, so when we connect this helps us connect intimately with our present moment experience. It helps us feel an amazing amount of gratitude for the bounty of beauty and resources that are available to us as human beings. Life becomes more of a, almost like a magical array of changing experiences. Sometimes they're more pleasant than others, um, but we never know what's going to happen next. So planning to just be here now, not anywhere else. Each step is different. um, do our best not to prejudge, or if we do prejudge, try to let go of our judgments and be fresh with each thing right now. um, Letting go of shoulds is very helpful, and limiting beliefs, or yeah, letting go of all of those limiting beliefs, and of course not being an expert at anything, but constantly being um, a student of life who never quite gets it all, but gets to keep enjoying each moment as it is. So that's just a little bit of some of my thoughts on beginner's mind. Yeah. And also with you all and in these sessions together, it's never the same. I never know, we never know who's going to say what, if anything. And it's pretty much, yeah, a great experience. Kind of frightening sometimes to let go of needing to know the way it's going to be. It can get scary. The mind who wants to know, who wants to feel assured. What is that? That's fear. So then, if that's arising, I get to be with fear as though I've never quite felt fear before. And from being intimate with fear, then the spaciousness once again arises. And practicing beginner's mind or spacious mind, spacious experience continues to widen and open. And then when we experience spacious mind, it is so um, free of tension. And there's a lot of ease and joy in spacious mind, right? Which co occurs with beginner's mind. And then when we go back into old conceptual, fear based, conditioned, gotta figure it out mind, we feel like if you take your face and go, scrunch it up really hard uh, and then just relax and expand. So you'll feel the pain with getting, and then you'll feel the release and the peace, inner peace that comes with beginner's mind to this receptivity. And once you get used to feeling that expansive peace, spaciousness that comes with beginner's mind, then the mind will start to form a habit and will prefer being and being in beginner's mind. So then it'll become more of a habit, not at first it's I got to remind myself, oh yeah, let me experience this new. Oh yeah, let me experience, let me let go of my but then eventually it becomes our natural state of being most of the time, unless we're, for me, only when I get, my resources are really um, challenged do I lose beginner's mind most of the time. So that's, yeah, thank you for bringing your beginner's mind to my talk. I appreciate it. Yes.